So as everybody knows, Blizzard announced a new expansion, the Whispers of the Old Gods. There will be, I think it was 140 new cards that are coming out in this expansion. It will be in the end of April, start of May that the expansion comes out, and I think we are all super hyped about this. And what the old expansion, or what the new expansion is all about, is about the Old Gods. And the first card Blizzard actually announced was a really big old god. It was Cthulhu. And as you already can see, here is the card Cthulhu. 10 mana card with 6/6 stats saying deal damage equal to the minion's attack randomly split among all enemies. When you first look at this card and you don't know what the card is, it might maybe look a bit weak. But there are in Hearthstone 16 cards that are helping Cthulhu to gain bigger. There are cards in the set that I will show later that will buff, that says we buff Cthulhu by 2 attack, 2 defense, and in this, with that concept, the Cthulhu can gain a lot of attack, and so it also does a lot of extra damage because of the battle cry. I think Cthulhu has a lot of potential. There are, because Blizzard said already, there are 16 cards that can stack up Cthulhu. It won't be really rare that you can have an attack that has 10 attack, 12 attack in your deck. I think that will be really reasonable. And this is a card. It has, because it is a battle cry and it goes off at turn 10 when you play it. The problem with 9 and 10 drops are normally, they are really good, but they are slow. You play them and nothing really happens at that turn. But this 10 mana card has a battle cry, so if this card is, can work, it really needs a battle cry, and that is luckily what it has. Also an important thing is that the cards that are working with Cthulhu, they have to be good. They have to be really stable cards that you can play, because you also need a good game plan when you are not drawing Cthulhu or in the early game. So the Blizzard already announced some of these cards, but the cards that are gonna stack with Cthulhu, they have to be really good themselves already to make this card work. It's really early to say how good this card can exactly be, because we don't know what the other Cthulhu cards are, but this card has potential if you make a full Cthulhu deck. And the cool thing is, this card is gonna be free for everybody. When the new expansion launches, everybody gains this card already, so everybody can try to make their own Cthulhu deck, and that is a cool thing. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is when Cthulhu comes out, and there are 16 cards that are good or that can stack Cthulhu, all the Cthulhu decks might just look super similar. You might just face a Cthulhu mirror whenever you face Cthulhu. Like, all the Cthulhu decks are gonna be almost the same, maybe. That's the only thing I'm scared about, that we are gonna have the Cthulhu decks that are just all the same decks. No differences in the deck at all. That's the only concern of me. I like the concept. We have to figure out how good it is. It's too early to say because we don't know the other cards. We know some, but not all, what will work with Cthulhu. I will come back to this card a bit later because there's so many cards already with Cthulhu announced. And here is the first one. And now we have a good example of how good Cthulhu can be. We have the Ancient Shieldbearer, Battle Cry also. If your Cthulhu has at least 10 attack, gain 10 armor. So everybody knows what the Shield Maiden can do in Warrior. The Shield Maiden was a card that will go out of the standard set now. And so 7 mana 6/6 is a bit weak. All the Cthulhu cards are going to be probably pretty bad for Arena because they have no synergy at all. Or it's really hard to make synergy. And this card, of course, we can only consider it in Cthulhu. We are not gonna play this card ever if we are not gonna play Cthulhu. When we can play Cthulhu, and we can make Cthulhu to a 10 attack already, and it gains 10 armor, that's a lot. Like, 10 armor is insane. 10 armor is at least worth around 3 mana for sure. So really powerful battle cry. If you have a 7 drop that is a 6/6, that is 1.5 mana weaker for his stats, and you can gain 3 mana back by the battle cry, it's powerful. So this card will be played in every Cthulhu Warrior deck. But is it gonna be strong enough? That's the hard thing. I'm not sure if Cthulhu is gonna be powerful enough yet for Warrior. If Cthulhu can be a thing, this card will of course be played in the Warrior Cthulhu decks. It's also really good at, like, the problem with Katoon is you will win the late game. You have that freaking Katoon that is gonna smack 10 or 15 battle cry damage. It's a big minion on the board. So this is a really good card to make the game longer, draw more of your Katoon cards, draw deeper in your deck, draw your Katoon. You just gain time with this 10 armor, you gain a lot of time. So we have to see what is gonna come out of the other Katoon cards. And here is a really interesting Katoon card. We need just general good minions to help Katoon. And this is a good example. 2 mana, 2/3. It's okay. It's not really good, but it's okay. And you give your Katoon +2/+2 as a battle cry, wherever it is. So if it is in your hand, it gains +2/+2. If it is in your deck, it gains +2/+2. Pretty decent card. It's a neutral, and that's the thing I like, because this is the one you can play for every deck. But it's gonna be, like, if you compare this and you look into what is popular in the meta, like, with 2 mana, 2/3, you're still always gonna be a bit behind. Other decks are playing the really powerful cards. This card is okay, it's not powerful, but you know that there is so much win condition later in the game, and it's a decent card. It's not like we have to play 10 garbage cards and then Katoon might work. No. We have reasonable cards that are really reasonable with stats wise, that are really okay. So we can get to that point where Katoon might work. But again, it's so hard to guess yet with not knowing other Katoon cards. If I look at what we have now, there is a good start, but there need to come more for Katoon to get work. And here we have the corrupted Healbot, and this is an interesting concept. Where we all know the Healbot, or lovely antic Healbot, 5 mana, heal 8 to yourself. This corrupted Healbot is a bit more evil, and he restores 8 health to your opponent. And what you gain back for that is that the stats are better. You have a 5 mana 6/6. 5 mana 6/6 is pretty good. If you look at what 5-drops we are played now, we have the Azure Drake, what is a really, I think, the most popular one, naturally. But you have the Druid of the Claw, what is popular for Druid. You have Conjurer. So I would say average you at least need 5/5 stat. But the Death Rattle is really negative. The Death Rattle is really negative. I think the card is gonna be a bit weak for just because of this Death Rattle. It's not like a Zombie Chow that is played early where you don't mind the Death Rattle this much. This card is worse than a Zombie Chow. But there are some good synergies, especially for Priest. This card has good potential for Priest. I think you will not really... I think the card is too weak and you don't really want this Death Rattle effect. Maybe in Warrior you can handle a Death Rattle effect that... Because you don't care about your opponent's health total, you only care about surviving the game. So maybe in some ways people won't like it in Warrior. But Warrior has already so many good cards. I don't think this card has any place to get a replacement there. In Priest, this card has good potential because with Priest, you can, instead of restore 8 health, synergize it with the Orkanai, and you immediately deal an 8 damage burst combo. So you will see maybe these sneaky Priest decks where instead of that you think that you are gaining some health from this Healbot, it's just gonna deal insanely 8 damage. So in Priest it has good potential. I think in Priest it might work, because Priest also doesn't care that much about your opponent's life total, so it has 2 ways of synergizing decently. Might also be an okay card for Arena. I can see these stats being really important in Arena, so that might work out. And in Priest, but in other decks I think it's too weak. It will never get a replacement from another 5-drop. Stats wise it gains a bit, but you lose so much with this Death Rattle that I don't think you will see it. Okay, and here is another Katoon card. It is a 4 mana 4/2. So just looking first at the stats, we are losing more than 1 mana already stats wise. You will not play in 3 mana 4/2. I don't even think you will play in 2 mana 4/2, but that will be okay. So we lose already stats wise. With this card we lose a lot. What do we gain? We gain a Divine Shield and we give another Battle Cry to Katoon. Again, this card, of course, we only have to consider these cards in Katoon. Because you will never see these cards in anything else than Katoon decks. You gain a Divine Shield and give +2/+2. The Divine Shield is worth for sure 1 mana, for sure. On a decent stats-wise minion, Divine Shield gains more than on an Argent Squire. Considering Minibot, it's probably a bit more worth a bit more than Minibot. Scarlet Crusader is a 3 mana 3/1, so actually pretty good. Pretty good actually. 4 mana 4/2 with a Divine Shield would already be pretty reasonable. Yeah, it's okay. Again, another Cthulhu card that is not gonna be like the glory of the world. It's not bad. It's okay. It's pretty okay. So another card that can work, that can make Cthulhu's decks really reasonable. If we can play, we saw already some more Cthulhu cards. If we all put them together, we're gonna be a bit behind against the meta on board. So we're gonna need to play some removal, play some maybe weapons if we can make it in a weapon class. But the card is reasonable again. Yeah, you can almost compare it to Shredder. Yeah, it's worse than Shredder for sure. You cannot compare a Divine Shield with a Death Rattle 2-drop. 2 HP is also 2 HP and 3 HP is a big difference. It's a really big difference. So it's weaker, but it's a good card. I can see this card. Yeah, it's one of the better Cthulhu cards, I think, actually. It's weak to the hero powers that can deal 1 damage. Divine Shield is always weak to the rogue, to the mage, to the druid, because they get rid of Divine Shields way easier than other classes that can do it that way, or to token decks. And that's a bit of the problem why we don't see cards like Scarlet Crusader. But I think this card can be really, yeah, this card is pretty good. It has good potential for Cthulhu decks. And here we have the Eater of Secrets. 4 mana, 2/4, Battle Cry, destroy all enemy secrets. Game +1/+1 for each. I think everybody was laughing when they saw this card coming out. If, knowing that in Standard, Secret Paladin gets a pretty big nerf with Minibot gone, Muster gone, Avenge gone. If there are still people trying out Mystery's Challenger Paladin decks, we always have this one, guys. We don't have to worry about that 6-drop anymore. We have our answer. But I really like that we gonna have this card in the set, because now we are having the possibility to counter the Secret Paladin or counter specific decks. Kazan is getting out, so I think Blizzard really wanted a replacement for Kazan Misting, that you can destroy secrets. But it also can, of course, work pretty well against Freeze Mage, but yeah, it's the same as Kazan. The card is even worse than the card is stats-wise is horrible. So the card, you only play it to really specific counter something, and the only thing I can see you wanna counter with this card, because you don't really wanna tech this in against Freeze Mage. Also because Freeze Mage, because Mad Scientist is gonna be gone, Freeze Mage is gonna play less secrets. I think, knowing I play a lot of Freeze Mage, I'm not gonna plan on playing double barrier anymore. Might just play double Ice Block if Freeze Mage can still work. And if you want to make your deck better against 1 or 2 certain archetypes, it's not even against classes, but just 1 or 2 archetypes. And from the other 9 classes, 15 archetypes are, you have a matchup that are worse against 15 archetypes. I think this card's pretty bad. Stat-wise, you lose almost 2 mana by playing this card. You will play in 2 mana 2/4, I think. You will not play in 3 mana 2/4. It's super weak. So you lose 2 mana by playing this card. It doesn't draw you a card. So the card is really weak. I think this card is, it's gonna be the same concept as Kazan, where there might be a meta with the 3 secret classes being super popular, but with Mad Scientist being gone, secrets are losing a lot. I think this card is a cool concept, but it's not gonna be strong enough. Not for Arena, not for constructed. Okay, and here we have a really interesting concept. We have a 0 mana card, and even without looking at 0 mana cards, what they say yet, 0 mana cards are always scary. Look at Innervate, super powerful. Look at Preparation, super strong. Backstab, like all the 0 mana cards are always also scary for miracle decks. Like we had the Miracle Rogue that was just dominating the ladder one year ago by just playing all the time, playing all the cheap spells and just getting the cycle in that way. But let's look at the cards. Forbidden Flame, spend all your mana, deal that much damage to a minion. So this is a card that you can play all game. Like let's say you have 0 mana, well let's say you have 1 mana, you deal 1 damage to a minion. Let's say you have 5 mana left, you don't do anything with, you deal 5 mana to a minion. That's pretty bad. Nothing else to say. If you compare it to like Arcane Missiles, deals already 3 random damage for 1 mana. If you have Flame Lance, like Flame Lance is the most, is like maybe the worst card from Mage. Deals 8 damage for 5 mana. Like Fireball deals 6 damage if you just want to kill 1 target. You want to more use it for some split amount of damage. You don't want to use it for on 1 minion. So the best comparison is an Arcane Missiles, because you're never gonna play this card for 5 mana and deal 5 random damage. And Arcane Missiles is just better for 1 mana. We cannot play this card for 0 mana. So yeah, you can deal 0 damage. That's cool, but yeah, this card is bad. The only way this card might work is in a Miracle Mage deck. Like you're gonna play an Auctioneer deck and you're gonna like get that concept again of drawing a lot. I like the concept of 0 mana cards. 0 mana cards are always scary. Whenever 0 mana cards are broken, the meta is gonna be really bad. But this card is just not good. It's not good.